Not me. Okay, we're gonna show you the difference in Dixie Dirt, which is a powder, and Glaze, which more of you have probably used Glaze if you've used anything like this. Both are used to age your furniture, give it kind of a dirty, old, antique look. Glazing you see a lot too in kitchen cabinets when they have a little groove and there's like that darker color in the grooves. So it is a liquid, and the glaze, you could add water to paint, but it would dry too quickly. There's something in the glaze that gives it kind of an oily feel, although it is still water-based, so it's still soap and water cleanup. So with the glaze, all these grooves are what are perfect for the glaze and the dirt, because that's going to hold the glaze and make those areas stand out. So you can be pretty generous with the glaze, and you're just going to paint it on. And like I said, you have time to work with it, so it doesn't dry super fast, so you can do big areas at one time. So I'm going to go ahead and do this whole section right here, making sure that I get in the detail areas.
So you do the whole thing and then wipe?
Not do sections.
Oh, okay. But I mean, you cover the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm covering
Okay.
the whole thing,
Okay.
so you can see it's kind of. Then I take a damp rag, not terribly wet, but just damp. And then I start very light. I barely touch it to begin with till I get the feel of how much I want to take off. Come on in, Dawn. So I'm just going to start wiping, and I want to leave it, in those grooves. That's why you barely touch it. And you can leave as much or as little. So you could leave like that, but I still want to take off even more than that. So I'm just going to keep working, especially on the flat areas. And now it is going to change the color of your paint slightly. These are styrofoam, so they can crack. So that just makes the details stand out. If you have a flat, like if you were working on a piece of furniture that was just solid like that with no detail, you can just dip your rag right in the glaze and then wipe it. Which that's going to be more what you'll do on your stools. Okay. So again, now I'm just going to move up to the rest of it. If you overlap some of those areas that you already did, that's fine, because you're still just going to wipe it off. Y'all feel free to ask questions as we go, too.
If you were doing a large piece of furniture, about how big of a surface would you work on at a time? About the quarter
Maybe
of that
about
pan?
this whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then start wiping.
Yep.
It stays wet or damp that long?
Yeah.
Okay.
So again, I'm just going to start lightly wiping till I get the look that I want. And one thing about glaze, if it dries and then you think, oh, I don't really like how that looks, you can paint over glaze. So just let it dry, and then you can go back and paint, and then you could add the glaze after you have repainted. But if you are working and you don't like it, as long as you work quickly, you can get most of it back off. And see that where I started is still damp enough that I can still take off a little more. So there's the glaze.
And it puts a sheen to it. Now, does it dry with
Well,
the sheen?
it's wet. It a little bit of a sheen, but it mainly has a sheen right now because it's damp.
Okay.
Yeah, it pops.
Yeah, it makes all that detail stand out.
That almost looks gold.
Yeah. Well, this is the Van Dyke brown.
Okay.
We also have another brown that's grunge, but it's more of a taupe, lighter brown, which it would be a lot more subtle on this. You could also do black, would be pretty on here also. Okay, so on this side, we have a white, so if you want to whitewash something, there's a metallic copper, a metallic silver, and then we have black, the grunge, and the Van Dyke. The Van Dyke seems to be the most popular.
You're learning early.
Okay, so for the Dixie dirt, you have to start with wax. So, love a wax brush if you're doing wax. You can't use your regular paint brushes because this is oil based, and I use lye soap to clean mine. You could probably use Dawn dishwashing, but this kind of keeps a little wax in it all the time, and it's okay. Okay, so I'm going to do circles and back and forth to make sure I get down in all those grooves. So with the dirt, again, you could cover the whole thing, but I'm just going to work in smaller sections. So I'll do about a quarter of this area.
So is the purpose for that a sheen?
No, this is going to be this is the catalyst really for the dirt, because the dirt is a powder, so it has to have something to stick to. Okay, so you see I just did a little bit of the wax,
Good job.
spread it out. Thank you, Dawn.
This was his baby. I
Oh,
don't know.
I thought you were complimenting me.
Well, we are. Good job.
Okay, so you can see the Dixie dirt is actually just a powder.
Only comes in one color?
They just came out with some new colors, but we haven't gotten them yet. And I'm not even sure really of what colors those are. So I'm going to take this little brush and dip in. I kind of tap a little of it off, and then I'm just going to put it on there.
It's a dry brush.
It's a dry brush. And I'm going to put it on kind of thick. So you can see, I'm going to see how it's...
Oh, I thought you wanted me to take it.
No.
You want me to take it and dump it off some?
Okay, so it's just thick like that, and then I'm just gonna, yeah, it does look just like dirt.
So can you leave just that if you like the way it shines? Or is it going to
Yes, you
always
could-
be waxy?
Well, you would buff it.
Gotcha.
So with wax, you would put it on, and then you would come back and you would buff it. And the more you buff it, the shinier it gets. So you might buff it one day, and then come back and buff it again the next day, and it'll get shinier as you do it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and work on that part. Okay, so for this one, with the glaze, I used a damp rag. With the dirt, just a dry rag. You can use an old t-shirt. These are just the rags you can buy at Lowe's in a pack. And then you're just going to start wiping it off. So again, I go in circles and then back and forth, kind of like I did with the wax brush. And it's a little bit, they give the same effect, but it's just a little softer, really, to me.
I like it better.
Maybe you're looking at the color
Yeah.
that's throwing it off.
Do you feel like either one of them you're using about the same amount of product? Or do you feel one's more economical than another?
I think it's about the same.
Could you have dumped what was laying on there off
And
and
use it
then
again?
done that?
You could have, but I'm
On a
too
paper
lazy to
towel.
do
But
it.
you can. 'Cause we
Yes,
noticed,
you
I mean, I
could.
noticed there was a lot of yeah.
The problem with that though is I would keep using it on the project I'm working on
Yeah.
and not put it back in there because it might have a little
paper
wax
towel.
on it.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that might make it sticky.
Now, is there any way to use the dust without wax?
No, because it has to have something to stick to.
Because if you did it while your paint was wet, it would just stick in all the paint and not be able to wipe.
Yeah, because you'd have to wipe it, so you'd wipe your paint
Yeah.
also.
And how would you use that one on a flat surface, like you told us with the glaze?
Well, like, okay, so let me wipe this and then I'll show you.
So that's something you need to wipe pretty soon?
No, because the wax will stay tacky for quite a while.
Okay.
It may stick more. Okay, so if we're just doing a flat surface, let me just put right here. You could still, you would just put like that, and then you would wipe it. So see, it did still leave. It did still leave some. Just
Now I wonder, would it work with an oil instead of a wax? Do you know what I'm saying? Because oil kind of does the same thing
But
as
it
the wax.
doesn't wax have more of like an exterior? The oil maybe would slide?
yeah, I don't know how the oil would.
Porous paint, like a milk paint or a chalk paint, it should not absorb completely, but
Yeah, I don't. What kind of oil would you?
hemp oil.
You could try it. Try it on like just a board or something. I wouldn't try it right on a piece of furniture to begin with. Just to test it, because I've never tried that, so I don't know.
I found that the oil was just too hard on my wrist. I mean, it's wax because I do so much that it's too hard on my wrist to do the wax where the oil is easier.
Do you use a wax brush or a rag? You do.
And I bought the one for the drill, but it kills my battery. So.
Oh.
Have you ever used the one for the drill?
No.
The wax?
Mm-mm.
I mean, it looked amazing on the
Yeah. Like everything.
You get like 3 circles and the drill's dead.
Now, as far as glaze versus wax on kitchen cabinets, I would not recommend doing the Dixie dirt on kitchen cabinets.
Man, I was thinking if I did that, my kitchen would never look dirty.
Well, but you can get the look. You can still get the look with the glaze.
Bubble.
And the reason is they say you shouldn't use wax on your kitchen cabinets. So if you
Right.
paint your kitchen cabinets, you don't want to use a wax.
Yeah.
You want to use some kind of polyacrylic to seal them, like we have the gator hide or the clear coat. Because wax, sometimes it can tend to stay a little, and stuff will stick to it more and it'd be harder to clean. But if you paint your cabinets and you want this look, if you use glaze, you can seal it with a polyacrylic, something that's a little more durable